So you're of Sicilian extract, as is your wife, and you grew up in South Philadelphia, which is the Italian American enclave of Philadelphia, right?
That's correct, yeah. And I was born there. My parents are from there. We moved to suburbia when I was a kid, but I went back. That's where the relatives were. We went back to South Philadelphia. So yeah, I'm very familiar with South.
It's not a place for the faint-hearted, it seems, in all the stories you hear.
It was a typical, in a lot of ways, still is a typical ethnic neighborhood. I mean, South Philadelphia is probably Brooklyn, one tenth of Brooklyn in terms of size, but it's the Philadelphia version of Brooklyn. For the longest time, it was Italian, and there's a lot of Italian and Irish and Jewish ethnicity. Now there's enclaves of Vietnamese and different Asian immigrants. I mean, it's always been an area where, there's the Ninth Street Market, which is kind of an open air market. That's always attracted ethnics, and I think the community grew up around that. And while it was at one point all Italian, now it's a lot of different ethnicities. Not unlike Mulberry Street in Lower Manhattan, which
Yeah.
at one point was entirely Italian, and now there's a lot of Chinese businesses and restaurants and stuff. So it's all about immigration and ethnicity. That's part of the American experience. That's part of the American story. And I think the American mob was a piece of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So your upbringing there, would you describe it as a happy upbringing, your childhood?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, my father was the youngest of seven. His parents came from Sicily. Fought in World War II. He was a Marine in World War II. He was the only member of his family to graduate from high school. He had three children, myself, my sister, and my brother. All three of us graduated from college.
Wow.
And his two oldest grandchildren, my daughters, have master's degrees. I mean, that's the American experience. That's the immigrant experience. His father was illiterate. He's a high school graduate. His children are college graduates. His grandchildren have master's degrees. That's what America's about. And that's one of the most troubling things that's happening here in America today when you hear this anti-immigration move. And people don't understand history. They don't understand democracy. They don't understand what immigrants bring and add to the texture of the country. And I worry we're losing sight of that. And I tell you what bothers me most when I hear some of my own relatives kind of jump on that bandwagon. And I look at them and say to myself, if the anti-immigrant attitude that exists today had existed 100 years ago, our grandparents wouldn't have got here. They couldn't speak English when they came. They didn't have any special skills.
Absolutely.
But they came for an opportunity. And that's what America's about. You come for the opportunity and you build on it. And that's why I mentioned that and how it just went up the line. His father to him, to me, to my kids. That's what it's about.
That's wonderful.
And when we come back to the mob, I mean, the mob basically, in my estimation, the American Mafia took the values of the Italian American experience and the honor, loyalty, and a sense of family. Basically bastardized those things to their own end to try to justify who they were and what they did.
Mm.
I think that's one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons that I wanted to write about it, because I think I could bring that perspective. I'm from the same place.